You all knew I couldn't resist commenting on this. It was a matter of getting time to read up on the penalty assessed to the number 11 FedEx Toyota driven by Denny Hamlin out of Joe Gibbs Racing. The penalty stemming from the race at Indianapolis. Now, I will be the first to admit I don't like Denny Hamlin, but frankly, he's an innocent victim here. He's the driver. He shows up and drives. I will get to that. Here's my take on the penalty. In some ways, it's too light. The penalty on Darian Grubb, the true crew chief, 6 races. The crew chief is responsible for the overall preparation of the car. Much like, say, a college basketball coach is responsible for maintaining order in the program, unless your name's Teflon John, and I will not comment further on that or respond to comments on that. But UMass and Memphis fans will know who I mean. But they were docked 75 driver and owner points and fined $125,000. Now, frankly, the owner points I'm okay with. The driver points, I will like seeing just the points earned at Indy from Denny Hamlin. He has nothing to do with it, and also any money won at Indy should be forfeited. In other words, they run that race for nothing. And the reason I'm coming down hard on this, it was about covering the firewalls, and I'm going to link to the NASCAR.com article on this in the description. You can read how the fines were handed out. NASCAR has become more open in saying why they were fined and what class infractions they were. It's even got a little listing of the class of infraction. But this to me is a safety issue. And anytime you're dealing with safety, you're dealing with the firewalls. The fire is the single biggest fear of any race driver. Pure and simple. Frankly, Darian Grubb 6 weeks. Now the car chief, Wesley Sherrill, I believe his name is, if I was NASCAR, I'd tell him to go home. I'll call you when you can come back. To me, that's his responsibility, making sure the car is prepared. I will briefly note that the Kyle Busch 18 car, also out of Joe Gibbs, was taken to the NASCAR R&D Center, as was race winner Jeff Gordon, standard procedure. Those cars were found okay. But they really need to come down hard on this. Frankly, I think the 11 team, not Denny Hamlin, but the 11 team should sit out a race. Now, Hamlin would be free to drive somebody else's car with FedEx on the car. I don't have a problem with that. 2 problems I would have with it. It cannot be a Joe Gibbs chassis. The chassis are numbered. And if it's a new chassis, it cannot go to Joe Gibbs. That would be the rules. Also, Joe Gibbs runs TRD engines, Toyota Racing Development. There is another engine manufacturer doing Toyota engines. It would have to be from the other engine manufacturer. But in other words, a car it cannot be pitted by people that normally pit the 11 car. In other words, set the whole team down a race except for the driver, who is the most innocent victim. That's just been my opinion, and I'm upfront that I don't like Denny Hamlin. I think he's a whiny crybaby about people racing him hard early, but frankly, he's the innocent victim here. But the punishment fits the crime, yes, to a point, but in some ways it could have been a little less. In some ways it could have been a little more. It's just been my opinion for what it's worth.